And so the big question here is, how do you overcome, how do you get over, right, the disappointment, the shame, the feeling like you're not good enough, the depression, the suicidal thoughts? How do you overcome these things? How do you overcome these huge emotions? And what does the Bible have to say about it? Welcome to Monday. Great to have you guys here for Hope on Demand on International Women's Day. Want to talk about this, one of my favorite women in the entire Bible. Her name is Hannah. And so there's this story in the book of Samuel. In fact, it's Samuel chapter 1. And in this story, there's a lady named Hannah. The story there is that she's married to a man who has another wife. Hashtag sister wives. Hashtag no thank you. And in this story, it's a story of how God really meets us in our brokenness. He helps us overcome the things that we're struggling with. So in this story, you know, it's wild because Hannah here, she's married to a man, and this man has another wife. Right, back in those days, that's just, I guess that was one of the customs. Seems like a crazy idea. And so Hannah's married to this man named Elkanah. The other wife, her name is Peninnah, some strange name. Beautiful name, I'm sure. But so wild about Hannah here is that she loves her husband. The husband loves her, but she cannot have any children whatsoever. And the man, right, Elkanah, her husband, him and Peninnah, they have children. They have lots of kids, right? And so with Hannah, the idea is that she is actually the problem here. She's unable to bear any children. And in that culture, in that time, children were seen as a blessing, a gift from God. And if you weren't able to have any children, well, then there was something wrong with you. In fact, it was seen as shameful not to be able to have children of your own. So, number one, Hannah here, she has no children. The man that she loves is also married to another woman, and they're able to have children. So she's filled with shame. She's filled with this idea that she is the problem. She's emotionally broken inside. She's constantly grieving. And to make matters worse, if it can get any crazier, this Peninnah lady, this hashtag sister wife, she makes fun of her continually. In fact, it says year after year, this lady would make fun of the fact that Hannah couldn't have any children. So she's constantly reminded of the fact that she is inadequate. She's shameful. Like she's filled with shame. And again, in the culture, there's something wrong with her. God is upset with her, right? That was kind of the idea back then. So I don't know if you can have any sympathy with this woman whatsoever, because she's really in a hard place. You and I, we might understand what it feels like to be disappointed. We're not where we should be. That we are the problem with whatever scenario is going on. Maybe you know what it's like to feel sad or hurt inside. Maybe you know what it's like for people to make fun of you. And here in Hannah, this whole story, this lady continually points out her flaws, continually points out her wrong. She's constantly reminded of this fact. And so the big question here is, how do you overcome, how do you get over, right, the disappointment, the shame, the feeling like you're not good enough, the depression, the suicidal thoughts? How do you overcome these things? How do you overcome these huge emotions? And what does the Bible have to say about it? Well, there's a couple of keys here. Key number one, in verse 9 it says, after a sacrificial meal at Shiloh, Hannah got up and went to pray. Point number one, that I think, how we're able to shake off, how we're able to overcome the things that we're going through, the heavy burdens, the clouds of depression that follow us. Point number one, I think here is if we follow Hannah's example, sometimes you need to get up out of the scenario, get up out of the place that you feel sad in. And you just need to go for a walk. You need to shake it off temporarily. And in Hannah's case here, she began to pray. She began to call out to the Lord, right? She got up, she went to pray. In fact, she ate food first. So maybe point number one, have a bite to eat. Point number two, shake it off temporarily, just, clear your mind. And number three, she began to pray. In verse 10, it says, Hannah was in deep anguish, crying bitterly as she prayed to the Lord. There is something about Hannah here that really inspires me is she really began to deal with her pain inside, man. She got real with it. She didn't run away from it. She didn't try and self-medicate. She didn't, bury it with substance abuse. It says here that she was crying bitterly. spoke to the Lord, began to cry out to the Lord and said, Lord, please help. And, you know, the fourth thing that Hannah did here, right after she ate some food, after she got up temporarily out of her sadness, out of the place that she was in that was causing her so much pain, after she began to pray, she invited someone else into her sphere. I wonder what it would be for you. Whatever it is that you're going through, whatever it is that you might be feeling hopeless, you might be feeling sad, you might be feeling a million different things, but there is something here where Hannah there's an example being set. And one of the things that she did is she allowed someone to come into her life, allowed someone to see what she was dealing with. She got vulnerable with someone. She opened up about what was going on with her. And that person happened to be a pastor, happened to be someone who knew how to pray, happened to be someone who knew God. And maybe for you, you need to let someone in. Maybe for you, you need to let someone into your life to pray with you. Because the amazing thing here, after they prayed, the prophet Eli, right, this guy says, you know, they prayed and they asked God to give her a son. And anyway, he said, go in peace. The reality is, folks, that when you allow people into your life, when you allow people who know how to pray, when you allow God into your life, and you give Him the things that you're going through, you can go in peace. There's an assurance here that you can go and just know that God is going to start working on your behalf. And in verse 20, this whole thing comes to this amazing close. In verse 20, it says, in due time she gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel. For she said, and what the name Samuel means, I asked God for him. The hope here, folks, the incredible thing about Jesus, the incredible thing about God is that when you pray, when you allow God to come into some of the most broken parts of your life, God really does, and He answers the prayers that He answers our prayers, right? When we call out to Him, He will answer. Jeremiah 33:3. And so my encouragement to you, and in the next video, I'm going to talk about my story and how God healed me of abuse from when I was a teenager. The reality is for you is that when you allow God into your life, when you allow people who know how to pray come into the broken parts of your life, God answers those prayers. Again, if you haven't already, like this video, share it with someone, subscribe to the Arctic Hope Project, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.